What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be showing you 3 more new Pioneer brews that include cards that are from Phyrexia All Will be one. You guys blew up the last one. Not blew it up, but from my standards, you guys blew it up. Thank you guys so much for that. I'm super stoked to get into these. Let's not waste any of your time. Let's get into this one. I have 3 brews here, 2 of which I brewed up, and this one we'll start with is one I found on Twitter by ErksMTG, so shout out to them. This one is Azorius Midrange. Super stoked to get to play this. But yeah, we are playing Ossification. That's the card in this deck that is new. So Ossification is a 2-mana enchantment. Enchant a land you control. Basically, it's an O-ring for planeswalkers and creatures. So super stoked. We are playing a bunch of basic lands so that we can turn that right on. We are also playing Laydown Arms, which of course needs planes. This card's very good. I've been playing this in Azorius Control. I really like it. Moving right on down the list, we've got Thraben Inspector. Thraben Inspector, for you that don't know, is a 1-mana 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, you get to investigate, so you get a clue. Spell Pierce ×2. Spell Pierce is great. Of course, Make Disappear. Make Disappear in this deck is much better than in just traditional blue-white control, because in blue-white control, you don't always have a creature. So basically, it's 2 mana. If you sack a creature, they have to pay 4, which is just insane, right? Dinnick. So Dinnick, if you're not familiar, that it has lifelink. It's a 2/3 with Disturb. But cards in graveyards can't be the target of spells or abilities. Pretty good, pretty good. Skyclave Apparition, we all know what that one does. Spell Queller, excellent, excellent flash card. Kind of a Azorius Flash kind of deck here too. Wandering Emperor, of course. This is just the staple planeswalker in white these days. And then Archangel Avacyn. Let's go. If you're not familiar, it's got flying, flash, and vigilance when it enters the battlefield. Creatures you control gain indestructible into turn. So you can do a lot of cool attacks and some weird kind of blocks with this thing. Really catch your opponent off guard. When a non-angel creature you control dies, it transforms into a 6/5. And whenever it says, when this creature transforms into Avacyn the Purifier, it deals 3 damage to each other creature and each opponent. So pretty sick. That's the main deck. Basically, the gist with this deck is you want to kind of play the tempo game. So until you get to Teferi, and I forgot to even mention Teferi. Teferi is like my favorite card in Magic right now, but of course, big Teferi, you know him, you either love him or hate him, but he's here, and he's very powerful in this deck, of course, because you get to do a lot of things with your Spell Pierces and Make Disappears, and in the sideboard, we'll get to it, Dovin's Vetoes and things. In the sideboard, we have Cathar Commando, so this is a 2-mana flash creature, staying on theme with flash. 1 mana, sack it, destroy target artifact or enchantment. So for 3 mana, it's basically an artifact or enchantment removal spell. We do have Rest in Peace for all those, graveyard decks out there in Pioneer. We do have Dovin's Veto for the Control Mirror. We also have Wedding Announcement for the Control Mirror also. Dream Trawler for the mid-range. And then Dusk to Dawn. Dusk to Dawn. So destroy all the big creatures, and then we get all our little guys back. This card's sweet. So yeah, that is Azorius Midrange. I'm super stoked. Again, guys, check out twitch.tv/LessAlex. If you want to watch me play all these decks, I stream weekdays at 9 a.m. Central. So check me out over there. All right, next up, this one is Blue-Green Mind Splice Turn. So when Mind Splice, this is the brand new Mind Splice apparatus. It is a 4-mana enchantment. 4-mana artifact with flash. At the beginning of your upkeep, put an oil counter on it. Instants and sorceries cost 1 less for each oil counter on it. What are we trying to do with this deck? Well, in the early games, we want to Growth Spiral. We want to Wolf Willow Haven, ramp ourselves, draw some cards, maybe Fog if we need to, and then land a turn 3 Mind Splice. That would be sick. And then it makes, yes, we're taking turns with Part the Water Veil Alrund's Epiphany. We're going to be committing things for 1 mana, and then memorying for 2. We're going to be playing Chase, Plain Wide Celebration. You guys probably aren't very familiar with this unless you play Commander, and even there, I don't think it sees them a lot of play. But it's 7 mana, but hopefully with our Mind Splice apparatus, it'll be much cheaper. You get to choose 4. You can choose multiple ones, or you can choose ones multiple times. So create 2/2 citizen token. So obviously in the early game, we can just start killing them. Return target permanent, so we can return Mind Splice apparatus to the battlefield if it gets that bad. We get to proliferate, so obviously proliferating oil counters is excellent, and then you get to gain 4 life. So worst things worse, you're dying, gain a bunch of life. We are playing Behold the Multiverse because scrying 2 and then drawing 2 cards for 1 mana seems excellent. We do have Saw It coming, of course, just counterspell when you get Mind Splice apparatus on the battlefield. And then I do want to talk about these 2 cards, Divide by Zero and Fey of Wishes. Fey of Wishes allows us to play a pretty sweet sideboard. Now, I want to talk about Ugin the Spirit Dragon because you might be looking at it like, what the heck, why is that in here? That is not an instant or sorcery. Well, yeah, you were right, and it is the 75th card in the deck. I think that maybe if things are going sideways, not looking like they're going our way, we can Fey of Wishes, or rather granted, and get a Ugin, blow up everything, and kind of restart. But yeah, that's the 75th card. I'm not too sure on that one. But we do have some other wish targets in here. Things like Commence the Engrame, Part the Water Veil, just a 3rd copy to take an extra turn. Plain Wide Celebration is in here as well. Negate in case we need it. Aether Gusts are just in here just because they're good cards, and same with Mystical Dispute. And then Divide by Zero. This card's great. It's got Learn. That's why we're playing some of these lessons, which is environmental sciences. Basically, go get a land, gain a couple life. Teachings lets us draw some cards. Mascot Exposition is our main win con, other than, of course, just attacking them, taking a bunch of turns with attacking them with the birds after we've taken a bunch of turns. So yeah, this deck is sweet. I'm really excited to get to play this one. I love Nexus of Fate whenever that deck was in its heyday. And this deck is in the same vein. Obviously, Nexus of Fate is insane. So I'm really stoked to get to play this one, though. This is going to be awesome. All right. Last, but certainly not least, this is Hellraiser Control. So is it Hellraiser Control? I do have to give a shout out to Aspiring Spike. He's playing this in Modern right now, and I wanted to see if we could make it work, just a little bit in Pioneer. But it's built around Capricious Hellraiser. You do see that Jace Perfected Mind is also in this. These two work pretty well together, actually. But let's talk about Hellraiser. It is a 6 mana, triple red creature, Phyrexian Dragon. And it costs 3 less unless you have 9 or more cards in your graveyard. It has flying. And when it enters the battlefield, exile 3 cards at random. And then you get to choose one of those. What are we trying to do right here? Well, we're playing 4 Shark Typhoons. So the gist is we want to get Shark Typhoon, cycle it, get it in the graveyard, and then cast it off of Capricious Hellraiser. That's the gist. Let's take a look at the rest of the deck, and we will get back to that. We'll start with the 1-drops. We're only playing 20 lands. That might be wrong. I try to go super lean just because I want to try some of these cards out. But we'll circle back to that. Consider, obviously, Surveil. Let's put a card in our graveyard, draw a card. Excellent. Otherworldly Gaze. This card is a card that is proven to me to be excellent in graveyard strategies. You just get to Surveil 3. So you get to take the top 3, look at them, put the ones you don't want in there, so put lands, or maybe you need a land. Very good card selection. Obviously, it doesn't draw a card technically, but it is good card selection, and it works really well with Hellraiser and Jace. Next up, we have Censor, cycling it, or obviously just force spiking one of their cards is always good. We do have a Ledger Shredder, which is our only other creature other than Hellraiser and Sharks, but convening super good. Obviously, that's very synergistic, and this card is just a very good card on its own. Next up, we have Saw It Coming. So being able to counter spells. We are a control deck after all. Next up, we have Fable of the Mirror Breaker. This card is good at every single point. You get to create a token. That token can attack and make treasures. It gets to draw and discard cards in its second form. And then if you get to flip it and actually copy a Hellraiser, your opponent is in a world of hurt because then you get to do the thing and you get to get a Shark Typhoon back, or you just get to go nuts. Next up, Light Up the Stage. This card is very good card advantage. I do think we may have issues of actually getting Spectacle. However, if we can just land a Ledger Shredder or, Fable, we do have some creatures to attack it. Or Shark Typhoon, having a 1/1 Shark and just poking them, turning on Light Up the Stage's Spectacle might be good enough. We will see, though. That's why we're brewing, right? Next up, we have Brotherhood's End. Kind of a new card. I'll read it. 3 mana, choose one. It's a sorcery. Brotherhood's End deals 3 damage to each creature and each planeswalker, or destroy all artifacts with mana cost 3 or less. So very versatile. One of the best versions of this kind of card. But next up, we have Prismari Command. Of course, I'm sure you probably all know what that is, but being able to deal 2 damage to any target's pretty good. Drawing 2 and discarding 2, obviously very synergistic with Hellkite. Target player creates a treasure. That might be relevant at some point. And of course, destroying random artifacts is good. Now, Jace, this is the one card I want to talk about, because this is the one card I'm not sure. Now, it does fit the theme, right? We want to mill ourselves with the minus. Maybe even get super aggressive and just mill ourselves with the X. Who knows? We'll have to see how it plays out. But this is the one card that if we had to start putting lands, adding more lands, maybe we're a little land light, this is the one card I would cut. Well, maybe, yeah, we'll see. But I'm super stoked to play this. Last but certainly not least in the main deck, we do have Dig Through Time. You might be saying, Alex, what the heck, that is Delve. You're gonna mess up your you're gonna mess up your graveyard and not be able to get Capricious Hellkite. That's fine. That's fine. If that happens, we're probably in a tough spot anyway, right? But Dig's just such a strong card. We can play it as a fun of. In the board, we've got 2 Rending Volleys against, creature decks, obviously. Fry against Control. We got Disdainful Stroke. Basically, mono, green, Shieldrids, things of this nature. Ether Gust against mono, green, and little red decks. And then we've got the cards that are good against Control. Mystical Dispute and Narset. And then we've got Chandra, Awakened Inferno. This is kind of a meme. Kind of like the Ugin from the last deck. This is one that I just like. I really like this card. I want to play it. So what better way? We're playing a blue-red control deck. I love this card. Niv Mizzet. We have a lot of cheap instants and sorceries, so I think this card could just be a kind of backdoor finisher in some scenarios, maybe against mid-range and control. And then, of course, the control finisher, Hullbreak Horror, very big headache for control decks. But yeah, that is blue-red Hellraiser Control. Let me know, though. Are there any cards I'm blatantly missing here? Are there any cards that you would play? Do you like the decks? Do you want to see me play them live? Hit up twitch.tv/LessAlex. I'll be streaming there. All these decks this coming week. I'm super stoked for them. Thanks for watching. If you watched this far, just like the video, subscribe, hit the notification icon so you don't miss a single one of my videos. Follow me on Twitter @LessAlex. All that stuff. Thank you, guys. Be kind to one another. Adios.